Hola a todos, espero que ustedes se encuentren bien. Hoy vamos a repasar el examen de español. Entonces, voy a compartir mi pantalla con ustedes para que puedan ver lo que veo. Bueno. Okay. Okay. So we are going to review the May-June 2024 Spanish paper 2. This is going to be useful to students who are preparing for the upcoming exams this year, May, June 2025. So we're going to do the entire paper, all right? The first section, as you know, is directed situations. So let's see. And I don't have to read the instructions. We'll get straight into it. All right. So the first scenario is in your new WhatsApp chat group, each person must introduce him or herself. Write your submission, including 2 things you want the group to know about your personality. So the main thing you have to do is you have to describe your personality using 2 traits, all right? So I chose to greet everyone first. Hola a todos, soy trabajador y amable, all right? So hello everyone, I am hardworking and friendly. Any 2 personality traits would suffice, all right? B, you have a choice of studying one of 2 languages. Write the response you sent to your teacher in the class chat, giving your choice and explaining the advantage it offers, okay? So the first thing you need to do is you need to mention which language you have chosen and why, basically. So how is that language going to help you, okay? So I said, escojo el español porque quiero mudarme a España. I choose Spanish because I want to move to Spain. Okay, so you see in the first part, I mentioned the language, and then in the second part, I mentioned the advantage that it provides me, or that it provides me, okay? Now, as you see, you can also use the verb elegir, which also means to choose, or you could even say preferir, to prefer. Mudarse means to move, all right? C, your parents have decided to have a family reunion. Write the email you sent issuing the invitation and giving the date. Okay, so we have to invite persons and then mention the date. So, los invitamos a nuestra reunión familiar el 12 de octubre. We invite you to our family reunion on October 12th. So, as you see, I have the invitation and I have the date. That's all I have to mention. D, there has been a delay in your flight to Santo Domingo. Right, I think that is the capital of, is that the capital of the Dominican Republic? If I'm not mistaken. Yes, Santo Domingo? Yes, because Chile is Santiago, yes. So I think that's the capital of Dominican Republic. Write the text message you sent to your cousin expressing how you feel about the delay and why. All right. So of course, you have to know how to express emotions. So estoy enojado porque llegaré tarde a la graduación de mi esposa. All right. So I'm annoyed because I will arrive late to my wife's graduation. All right. So estoy enojado, that mentions how I feel about the delay, and everything that follows por qué is an explanation. Llegaré tarde a la graduación de mi esposa. I will arrive late to my wife's graduation. And those are also other emotions that you could have used. Frustrado or frustrada, decepcionado or decepcionada. E, you and your best friend have been talking about your hopes for the future. Write the WhatsApp message you send mentioning one of your hopes with an explanation. So, what is your hope? My hope, espero ganar la lotería, porque necesito mucho dinero. So I hope to win the lottery because I need a lot of money. All right. So one of my hopes is to win the lottery, and my explanation is that I need a lot of money. Necesito mucho dinero. F, well, your neighbor is on vacation abroad. A problem occurs at his home. Write the email that your father sends to your neighbor, explaining the problem and saying what he did to help. Okay. So you have to inform the neighbor of the problem, about the problem, right? And then you have to say what you did to help. So I said, alguien trató de asaltar tu casa, así que llamé a la policía. So someone tried to break into your house, so I called the police. So someone tried to break into your house, that's explaining the problem, and calling the police is how I would have helped, right? G, your country is suffering the aftermath of a hurricane and a friend's home was affected. Write the text message you send expressing sympathy and offering assistance. Okay, so you have to express sympathy. So you want to know how to apologize or say, yeah, because expressions that we would use for apology can also be used for sympathy. So, lo siento mucho, puedes quedarte conmigo. And of course, puedes quedarte conmigo would be offering assistance. You can stay with me. And lo siento mucho would be expressing sympathy. H, your area has experienced an electricity outage. Write a WhatsApp message to the electricity company telling them where you get him from, telling them when it happened and how long it lasted. Okay. So you just need to mention when it happened. Sucedió ayer. It occurred yesterday. Y duró 3 horas. And it lasted for 3 hours. Or it lasted 3 hours. Another verb for to occur, there are two, we could use tener lugar or ocurrir. I, your parents have gone out for the evening, leaving you and your siblings at home. Write the text message they sent to you indicating one thing you must do or one thing you must not do. So you can use a variety of forms to answer this. You can use the imperative, or you can use verbal periphrases, right? In order to answer this, I would have chosen to use the verbal periphrasis, deber followed by the infinitive, which indicates, or which is used for obligations. So the one thing you must do, debes acostarte antes de las 9. You must go to bed before 9 o'clock. E, the second part is, one thing you must not do, no debes usar la computadora. You must go to bed before 9 o'clock and you must not use the computer. So the modal verb must is expressed as deber followed by the infinitive of the verb, right? And J, your friend who will be visiting from abroad wants to know where to go shopping. Write the message you send giving your suggestion with a reason. So of course you have to give a suggestion. There are a variety of ways that you can do this. I chose to use the conditional form of deber followed by the infinitive, which would translate as should, right? Deberías visitar Walmart porque los precios son asequibles. So you should visit Walmart because the prices are affordable. So you see, I gave my suggestion and I provided a reason. Good. So that brings us to the end of section 1. And now we proceed to section 2, which is the letter, the informal letter. All right, so let's look at the scenario. Recently, your pet went missing. Write the letter you sent to your Puerto Rican friend, telling him about this experience, tell him or her about this experience. Be sure to include a description of your pet, including a distinguishing feature, how you think your pet went missing, your efforts to locate it, and how you felt when you did, how you plan to keep your pet safe in the future. So what we'll do, because I've already written it, is that we'll analyze it by paragraph rather than reading it one time and then going backwards. So we'll just analyze it by paragraph, right? Or section. So as you know, when it comes to the informal letter, you need to use the correct format. So your date goes in the right-hand corner. You put the day of the week, martes, and then the date, which is 18 de febrero de 2025. Of course, this date is not today's date, but that doesn't matter. As long as it is expressed in Spanish, that's all that matters, right? And then we go over to the left-hand corner and we address the letter to the person. So it says your Puerto Rican friend. So just make up a Spanish name. I chose Miguel. Okay. So as I said, we're going to analyze it by section or paragraph. Hola, ¿qué tal? Espero que estés bien al igual que tu familia. Te escribo porque quiero compartir una mala experiencia contigo. Hace una semana, mi gato se perdió. Era pequeño, blanco y tenía los ojos bien amarillos. Okay, so let's look at that. Hello, how are you doing? Just a simple way to start. I hope that you're doing well along with your family. I'm writing you, and I would have shown you how to start the letter. These are expressions that you can always use at the start, to greet the person and then wish them, well, yes, greet the person and then state the purpose of the letter. So, te escribo porque quiero compartir una mala experiencia contigo. I want to share a bad experience with you. So, hace una semana, 1 week ago, mi gato se perdió. My cat got lost. Era pequeño, it was small, blanco, white, y tenía los ojos bien amarillos, and it had very yellow eyes. Okay. So let's look at the cues. So it says a description of your pet, including a distinguishing feature. So right off the bat, we have that information here. We have the description. We said that it was small, it was white, and it had very yellow eyes. And los ojos bien amarillos, that would be a distinguishing feature because that would stand out. Okay? So that's the first cue that we have, or the first piece of information that we have included, okay? Now we need to look for how you think your pet went missing. All right, let's continue. So I would have proceeded to explain. Estaba jugando con el gato en el garaje cuando escuché un ruido dentro de mi casa. Fui adentro para ver si algo había caído y el gato se quedó en el garaje, o así pensé. Cuando volví al garaje, El gato no estuvo. Creo que empezó a perseguir algo y se perdió en el proceso. Inmediatamente fui a buscar a mi gato por todas partes, pero no lo encontré. Sin embargo, cuando llegué al parque, vi a mi gato sentado en el piso. Okay. In this part, we have quite a lot of information, right? Quite a bit of information. So, estaba jugando con el gato en el garaje cuando escuché un ruido dentro de mi casa. So I was playing with my cat in the garage when I heard a noise within my house. Fui adentro para ver si algo había caído. I went inside to see if something had fallen. Y el gato se quedó en el garaje, o así pensé. And the cat stayed in the garage, or so I thought. So cuando volví al garaje, when I returned to the garage, el gato no estuvo. The cat was not there. Creo que empezó a perseguir algo. I think that it began, or well, let me say it, yeah. It began to chase something y se perdió en el proceso, and it got lost in the process. So that responds to our second cue, our second piece of information. How you think your pet went missing. So from creo to proceso, that explains how I thought that the cat went missing, right? So I believe that it began to chase something and got lost in the process. Okay? Inmediatamente fui a buscar a mi gato por todas partes, pero no lo encontré. What was the next piece of information? Your efforts to locate it. So that would talk about my efforts to locate it. I said that I went to look for it everywhere, por todas partes, pero no lo encontré, but I did not find it. Sin embargo, cuando llegué al parque, when I arrived, or when I reached the park, vi a mi gato sentado en el piso. I saw my cat sitting on the ground, right? So that answers the details about your efforts to locate it. Now we need to know how I felt when I actually located the cat. No puedo contarte lo feliz que me sentí al ver a mi gato. Para que eso no vuelva a suceder, voy a asegurarme de que mi gato siempre esté a mi lado. I cannot, so we begin to find out how I felt when I found my cat. No puedo contarte lo feliz que me sentí al ver a mi gato. I cannot tell you how happy I felt upon seeing my cat. Para que eso no vuelva a suceder, so that does not happen again, voy a asegurarme de que mi gato siempre esté a mi lado. I'm going to ensure that my cat is always at my side or next to me, anything like that. Yeah. So you can say, I'm going to make sure that my cat is always by my side, or is always with me. You don't have to be literal, but yeah. So that responds to the final cue. I say cue, but details when it talks about how you plan to keep your pet safe in the future. So voy a asegurarme de que mi gato siempre esté a mi lado. Good. And then we have the closing. Un abrazo, Jorge. Of course, you don't write your actual name. You make up a Spanish name. All right. And that's 151 words. Yep. Muy bien. Seguimos. So we move on to the dialogue. Let's look at the scenario for the dialogue. So you and your friend, David, are discussing plans for his first date with Anita. Write the dialogue between both of you, given his responses. So you're David. I, or one, let's say one. Feelings about going on the date. Two, details of the date, including transport. Three, clothes for the date. Four, the buying of a gift. And five, place and time to meet up. Good. So these are the cues. These will help you to follow the discussion and as well as these will not only help you to know what is going on, but it will also help you to figure out what you actually have to say. Right? All right. So as you know, we are David. Por fin, tienes una cita con Anita. ¿Cómo te sientes? So finally, you have a date with Anita. How do you feel? So in order to know what David has to say, or what would be sensible, we have to skip that and see what the next person says, right? So two, es normal sentir estas dos emociones y no te preocupes, amigo. Todo va a salir bien. ¿Qué van a hacer en esta cita? So it's normal to feel these two emotions, and do not worry, friend. Everything will go well. What are you going to do on that day? On that day, right? On this day. So based on what follows, we know that David has to talk about two emotions because it says two emotions, right? And then he has to ask a question because there were question marks in the spaces. So he has to finish with a question. Me siento contento y nervioso. I feel happy and nervous. It's normal. Is that normal? Or is it normal? I would think it's normal would make sense given the response of should I say you? Yeah, let's say you. Given the response of or given our response, right? Hold on, let's go back to the cues. You and your friend David. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, yes. So our response, but we are speaking from David's perspective. So our response. Es normal sentir estas dos emociones. Yes. So we can ask the question, is it normal? Es normal? Mm-hmm. And then he would confirm and then we will confirm by saying, yes, it's normal to feel those two emotions. So you would have to mention those two emotions and then ask a question. My question was, is it normal? Given what we said at the start. All right. So let's continue. So then let's look at the next part. ¿Qué van a hacer en esta cita? So what are you going to do on this date? We have to skip David and go to our response. Next. Excelente. A Anita le encantará ese restaurante y la música de ese club fantástica. Pero, ¿cómo van a llegar al restaurante? Okay. So, excellent. Anita will love that restaurant and the music from that fantastic club, right? Or the music of that fantastic club. But how are you going to get to the restaurant? So, given that our response, what would David say? So obviously we have to say that we're taking her to a restaurant because we said that she will love that restaurant, and we have to talk about going to a club to listen to music, okay? So I said, vamos a un restaurante que se llama Champers is actually a local restaurant here in Barbados. Y luego vamos a un club para escuchar música. So we're going to a restaurant called Champers, and later we're going to a club to listen to music. Yep. So that would be the logical response given what we said afterwards, right? So we talked about Anita loving that restaurant, or the fact that she will love that restaurant, and the music of the club. So those are two places we have to talk about going, right? About going to, right? No, let's continue. So after that, after the question, ¿Cómo van a llegar al restaurante? How are you going to get to the restaurant? We have to look at our response and we say, perdón, ¿qué hermano más simpático tienes? Y es verdad. El club está cerca, así pueden hacer esto. ¿Y cómo van a volver a casa? He says, what a nice brother you have. And it is true. The club is close, so you can do that. And how are you going to return, or how are you going to get back home, right? So given that response, we obviously have to say that our brother is going to take us, right? Because it says what the question before is how are you going to get to the restaurant? And then our response afterwards is what a nice brother you have. So we have to obviously say that the brother is going to take us or has offered to take us, something to that extent. And we also have to say that the club is close to the restaurant, or maybe we can walk to the club, right? Because the second part says, y es verdad, el club está cerca, así pueden hacer esto. So I said, mi hermano se ha ofrecido a llevarnos al restaurante. So my brother has offered to take us to the restaurant. El club está muy cerca del restaurante, así que vamos a ir al club a pie. So the club is very close to the restaurant, so we are going to basically walk to the club or go to the club on foot, right? And that would make sense. The second part, that would respond to the second part. When it says it is true, the club is close, so you can do that, meaning you can walk to the club. But as we continue, the question is, ¿Cómo van a volver a casa? How are you going to get back home, right? So that's what we ask. So let's see what we say afterwards. Es bueno que tengas estas opciones para regresar, pero ¿por qué me estás preguntando esto sobre la ropa? ¿Cómo piensas vestirte para esta cita? It is good that you have these options to return, right? But why are you asking me this about clothes? How do you think okay, basically, ¿cómo piensas vestir para esa cita? How do you think you should dress for this date? Or what were you thinking of when in terms of dress, right? So based on our response, we have to give two options to get back home, right? We have to give two options. So podemos reservar un taxi o nuestros padres van a recogernos. We can book a taxi or our parents are going to collect us, right? So that will respond to the first part. Es bueno que tengas estas opciones para regresar. All right, but then look at what we say afterwards. Pero ¿Por qué me estás preguntando esto sobre la ropa? ¿Cómo piensas vestirte para esta cita? So obviously the second part we need to ask the question because there were question marks on the in the spaces. So and we have to ask about clothes because obviously if we look at our response, it says ¿Por qué me estás preguntando eso sobre la ropa? Well, you're asking me this about clothes, right? So I my question was, ¿Qué debería usar? What should I use? What should I wear? Being too literal, what should I wear? Sorry. ¿Qué debería usar? What should I wear? And that would make sense. Um, that would basically respond to the second part, which is ¿Por qué me estás preguntando eso sobre la ropa? Okay. All right, so let's continue. When it says, how do you think you should dress for the date? Let's go to what I say afterwards or what we say afterwards. Claro que necesitas hacer esto. Y sí, yo voy contigo allá. Estoy seguro que en el centro comercial podrás encontrar ropa perfecta para la ocasión. Of course, you need to do that. You need to do this. And yes, I'm going with you there. I am sure that you will be able to find perfect clothing for the occasion in the mall, right? So obviously, and you had to end with a question. So he says, claro que necesitas hacer esto. So if in the second part we're talking about finding clothes in the mall, then I would think that David would say, well, maybe I need to go shopping or maybe I need to buy some clothes or what have you, because clearly he doesn't even know how to dress, right? And then in the second part, we have to ask the ask we have to ask about going it we have to ask about going to the mall because your boy contigo, right? So David has to ask us to accompany him to the mall or to go with him to the mall, right? So puedes acompañarme because we say, y sí, your boy contigo allá. But he's looking for clothes. But at the beginning, we say, no lo sé, creo que necesito ir de compras. I don't know. I think that I need to go shopping. And that's what and we say, claro que necesitas hacer esto. Yes, of course you need to do this. So let's continue. So after we say that you'll be able to find perfect clothing for the occasion at the mall, we would say, we have said, lo sé, amigo, no te preocupes. La ropa en este lugar es bien barata y hay rebajas esta semana, pero también tendrás que comprarle a Anita un regalito. ¿Sabes lo que vas a comprar? So I know a friend, do not worry. The clothes in this place are very cheap and there are discounts this week or sales, but you will have to also buy a little gift for Anita. Do you know what you're going to buy? Okay, so let's see what David would say. So obviously, if he says that if we say that the clothes in this place are very cheap, then David has to talk about maybe not having a lot of money because we tell him not to worry, right? So I said, espero que la ropa sea asequible porque no tengo mucho dinero. I hope that the clothes are affordable because I do not have much money, right? So that's all we would need to say. We would need to talk about not having a lot of money, right? So as we continue, ¿sabes lo que vas a comprar? And then we skip David, of course, and see what we say. ¿Le gustan los chocolates, verdad? Bueno, puedes comprarle una caja de chocolates o unas flores. Does she like chocolates? Does she like chocolates like truthfully, right? Does she like chocolates, right? No, does she like chocolates, right? No, sorry, I I'm botching the translation. She likes chocolates, right? Well, you can buy her a box of chocolates or flowers. So those are the two suggestions that we give to him, right? So obviously David has to say, well, no, he doesn't, and he has to ask for suggestions because again, there were question marks in the spaces, right? So no, puedes darme algunas ideas. So can you give me some ideas? And this is when we say, she likes chocolates, right? So, well, you can buy her a box of chocolates or flowers, okay? All right. And right, so after we give him the two suggestions, let's see what we say afterward. Está bien, nos veremos allá mañana a esa hora para hacer todo lo que tienes que hacer para esta cita. Okay, that's okay. We will see each other there, or we will see you there tomorrow at that time to do everything that you need to do or you have to do for the day, right? So basically they're talking about the meeting point. Okay. So it means that David has to mention a place that he will meet us at as well as a time because it says nos veremos allá there. So wherever there is, a esa hora, whatever time. So gracias because he gave us we gave him suggestions. Gracias. Entonces vamos a reunirnos en el parque mañana a las 10. So thank you. So we are going to meet up at the park tomorrow at 10 o'clock, right? So that's what we would have to do. That's what David would have to say based on what we say at the end. David would have to talk about a place and a date for the meeting. And as you see, all of these respond to the cues. All right. And the word count was 101. So I went over by one word, but it's not that serious. All right. And the final section, we have the reading comprehension. So we're going to read the passage and then we're going to look at the answers, right? Our neighbor Ramona. Nuestra vecina Ramona es una mujer curiosa y chismosa que sabe todo lo que ocurre en la casa de sus vecinos. Pasa todo el día en su jardín con el pretexto de cuidar sus flores, pero en realidad está vigilando para ver lo que está pasando alrededor de ella. Ella puede contarte a qué hora sale la señora Fernanda de su casa para ir al mercado o cuántas visitas recibió el señor Federico la semana pasada. Si llega el cartero para entregar un paquete y el dueño de la casa no está, Ramona se ofrece para recibirlo a nombre del recipiente. Y claro, trata de averiguar lo que tiene el paquete y quién lo envió. Ramona no era siempre así, pero cuando su esposo murió hace 3 años, parece que no podía aguantar la soledad en su casa y por esto empezó a meterse en los asuntos de los otros. Los vecinos no pueden tener una conversación sin que aparezca Ramona para saber de qué están hablando o para añadir un poco de chisme. Por esto, ahora, cada vez que los vecinos ven a Ramona, entran apresuradamente en su casa diciendo que tienen algo importante que hacer. Mhm. So let's see the questions. So how is Ramona described? So that is mentioned at the beginning. The very first sentence. Es una mujer curiosa y chismosa. 2 marks. So she is described as curious and gossipy. So chismosa means gossipy. Like to spread a lot of gossip. Right? B, what is Ramona supposed to be doing in her garden? Okay. So it says, pasa todo el día en su jardín con el pretexto de cuidar sus flores. Pretexto would be like excuse, right? Cuidar sus flores means taking care of her flowers. Yeah. So she's supposed to be taking care of her flowers. C, what is Ramona's main reason for being in her garden? So it says, pero en reality, está vigilando para ver lo que está pasando alrededor de ella. So in reality, she is looking around to see what is happening around her, right? So essentially, that's what she's there garden for, to see what's happening around her. Mhm. D, what does Ramona know about Mr. Federico? So what does it say? O, R, ¿cuántas visitas recibió el señor Federico la semana pasada? So she knows how many visits he received last week. How many visits he received last week? D. Oh, no, sorry, that's D. D, I just did D. Okay, so E. What happens if no one is at home when the postman arrives? Okay, so si llega el cartero, cartero is postman. Si llega el cartero para entregar un paquete y el dueño de la casa no está, and the owner of the house is not there. So when the postman arrives to deliver a package and the owner of the house is not there, what does she do? ¿Qué hace Ramona? Ramona se ofrece para recibirlo a nombre del recipiente. So the answer would be, what happens if no one is at home when the postman arrives? She offers to receive the package on behalf of the neighbor, right? Se ofrece para recibirlo a nombre del recipiente. And F, what does Ramona do when the postman leaves? So that follows, the answer follows. Claro, trata de averiguar lo que tiene el paquete y quién lo envió. So she tries to find out what is like in the package and who sent it. What it has and who sent it. Right. So she just found what is inside the package and who sent it. Right. So G, why does the narrator think Ramona behaves the way she does? Okay. So it was mentioned here. If you realize, the answers all occur in order. Yeah. So you literally just have to look for the answers. In terms of looking for the answers, they all occur in order in the passage. So they follow one after the other. It's just to find them, right? So Ramona no era siempre así. Pero cuando Su esposo murió hace 3 años. Parece que no podía aguantar la soledad en su casa y por esto empezó a meterse en los asuntos de los otros. So that's a mouthful. So what are we gonna do? Okay, so what does the narrator think? So basically, he says that, or the narrator says that when her husband died 3 years ago, she was unable to aguantar means to like endure or tolerate, endure loneliness at home. So she began to meddle in other person's affairs. Right? So that's what meterse en means to, let me make sure I got that right, means to meddle, right? Meddle in the affairs of others. Right? So that's why the narrator thinks that Ramona behaves the way she does. So what happens when the neighbors are having a conversation? So, los vecinos no pueden tener una conversación sin que aparezca Ramona para saber de qué de qué están hablando o para añadir un poco de chisme. So it says that they can't have a conversation without Ramona appearing and wanting to know what they're talking about or to add a bit of gossip. So those would be two pieces of information. She appears either to find out what they're talking about or to add a bit of gossip. How do the neighbors now react when they see Ramona approaching? So por esto, ahora cada vez que los vecinos ven a Ramona, entran apresuradamente en su casa diciendo que tienen algo importante que hacer. So each time they see Ramona, they enter their houses, they hastily or hurriedly enter their houses, saying that they have something important to do, right? So that would be the reaction that the neighbors, that would be the reaction of the neighbors when they see Ramona. So they hurriedly enter their houses, saying that they have something important to do. And finally, Jay, what type of relationship do you think Ramona has with her neighbors? Explain. So this is one of those questions that requires you to use the information to come up with your own opinion. So obviously, if she always meddles in persons' affairs, they definitely are not going to have the best relationship with her as they avoid her at all costs. So I say they see her as a menace as she meddles in their affairs, so much so that they run into their houses when they see her approaching. Right. So that would be my evidence. So you use the information presented to justify your opinion or your stance, right? So it can't be anything positive, obviously. But as long as you're able to explain with evidence from the story, you'll be good. Okay, so these are just vocabulary words that you may not have known, but you know them now. All right. So this brings us to the end. Eso es todo por hoy. Espero que ustedes hayan disfrutado de esta lección. Muchas gracias por ver y hasta la próxima.